All right, welcome to the Explainer. So, picture this. Your brand is blowing up, but for all the wrong reasons. A crisis just hit, and bam, everything is on the line. The question is, who's that steady hand you need to navigate the storm and, protect your company's future? Well, today, we're digging into exactly that, the role of the fractional CMO when things go south.
Okay, so here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll get real about what a modern brand crisis actually feels like. Then, we'll introduce you to the fractional CMO and break down their playbook for when things get chaotic. We'll also talk about why going silent is a terrible idea, how you can actually turn a crisis into an opportunity, and finally, we'll look at the big signs that tell you it's time to bring in an expert. Let's jump in.
When a crisis hits today, we're talking a product recall, a crazy social media backlash, maybe even a huge market downturn. It's not just testing your numbers. Nope, it's way deeper than that. It's a fundamental test of your leadership, your communication, and really, the public's trust in your entire brand.
So, let's really put you in that moment. You wake up, you check your phone, and your brand is trending. The comments? A total firestorm. The media? They're already calling, and your team is just staring at you, waiting for answers. The panic starts to creep in, right? So what's the first move? In that kind of chaos, your standard leadership playbook? It's just not going to cut it. You need a specialist.
And that specialist? That's the fractional CMO, or what some people call an FCMO. Think of them as the stabilizer in these completely turbulent waters. They're that seasoned strategic decision maker who's brought in for one reason: to handle these insane high-pressure moments with total clarity and confidence.
So what is a fractional CMO exactly? Well, think of it like this. It's strategic leadership, but on demand. You get this super experienced marketing exec to guide you through all the uncertainty, but they're part-time. This means you get that top-tier expertise right away, without the huge cost or the long drawn-out process of hiring a full-time executive.
And it is absolutely crucial to get the difference here. You've got your normal marketing challenges, right? Things like your customer acquisition costs creeping up, or maybe growth is slowing down. That's one thing. But then you have existential crises. We're talking massive public backlash, legal scrutiny, maybe even executive misconduct. These aren't just messing with your metrics. They're attacking the very core of your brand's trust. And for that, you need a whole different kind of leader.
So what does this person actually bring to the table when everything's on fire? Well, first off, you get crisis-tested decision-making. That means no more of those cringeworthy, tone-deaf mistakes. Next, they become the central hub, the person who coordinates PR, legal, and customer experience, making sure the entire company is speaking with one unified voice. And finally, they've mastered that tricky balance between acting fast and making sure every single message that goes out is totally controlled and disciplined.
Okay, so how does all that leadership actually turn into a real plan? Well, a fractional CMO isn't just winging it. They come in with a methodical playbook. It's all about managing the chaos, taking back control of the narrative, and shifting from that "oh no, what do we do" panic to a calm, proactive response. And the real key here? It's adaptability. The response is never one size fits all. Let's say your brand's reputation takes a hit. The playbook says speed and transparency are everything. But what if it's a legal issue? Then the focus immediately shifts to caution and sticking to the facts. And if it's a wider economic downturn, the whole marketing strategy pivots. You're now focused on keeping the customers you have and screaming value from the rooftops. The playbook changes depending on the fire you're fighting.
The execution itself is super tactical, and it basically unfolds in 5 steps. Step 1, you build a messaging control center. You gotta have one consistent message. Step 2, you reframe the narrative. This isn't about making excuses, it's about taking accountability. Step 3, you dial in the tone and empathy. And this is so crucial. Step 4, you get your own house in order. Align the internal team first before a single word goes public. And finally, step 5, you create real-time feedback loops. You're watching how people are reacting, and you're ready to adjust the strategy at a moment's notice.
Now, let's talk about one of the most common and most dangerous instincts a company can have in a crisis. It's the urge to just go quiet, hunker down and hope it all just blows over. But as we're about to see, that is almost always the absolute wrong move. Yeah, you really have to burn this into your brain. Silence isn't a strategy. It's basically surrender. The moment you go quiet, you create this vacuum. And guess what fills it? Speculation, misinformation, and, you guessed it, your biggest critics. You've just handed them the microphone and let them tell your story for you. You're not in control anymore. So what do you do instead of hiding? You show up. And you show up with clarity.
A great fractional CMO makes that happen. They'll make those smart, quick calls like, hey, let's pause all our paid ads right now so we don't look tone deaf. They'll manage the community, not with empty promises, but with actual progress reports. And they'll coach your leaders on how to communicate with genuine authenticity.
And here's the wild part. This whole proactive approach, it's about way more than just damage control. When you manage a crisis this well, you can actually pivot it into a strategic opportunity. Seriously, you can come out of this stronger in the long run.
I mean, think about it. If you handle it right, a crisis can be a massive brand reset. It shows you've got maturity and you take accountability. And that deepens trust with your customers, which often leads to them sticking around and even stronger growth down the line. And what about your team? They don't just survive the fire. They come out the other side way more resilient and capable than they were before.
So, the big question is, when is it actually time to make that call? When do you know you need to bring someone in? Well, there are a few really clear signals that your current leadership team is just stretched way too thin and it's time to call in an expert. So ask yourself this. Is your brand trending for the wrong reasons? Is your team totally confused? That's a huge signal. Are you personally trying to juggle the legal team, the media, and all the chaos inside the company? That's another big one. Other triggers? Your old marketing playbook just feels broken. Or maybe a data breach has completely shattered customer trust. Or you're going through something tough, like layoffs or a major pivot. If you're nodding along to any of these, yeah, it's time to get help.
It really boils down to this. A seasoned fractional CMO brings the three things you desperately need in a crisis: calm, clarity, and speed. And they deliver all of that without the long-term cost, which, let's be honest, is absolutely critical when every single second counts.
Look, for any brand that's growing, a real crisis isn't a matter of if it will happen, it's a matter of when. So the real question I want to leave you with is this: is your leadership ready for it? Thanks for watching The Explainer.